You're listening to the Cyberwire Network, powered by N2K.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to N2K Cyberwire's Hacking Humans podcast, where each week we look behind the social engineering scams, phishing schemes, and criminal exploits that are making headlines and taking a heavy toll on organizations around the world. I'm Dave Bittner, and joining me is Joe Kerrigan. Hey, Joe.
Hi, Dave.
And our N2K colleague and host of the T-Minus Space Daily podcast, Maria Vermazis. Maria.
Hi, Dave, and hi, Joe.
All right, we've got some good stories to share this week, but first we're going to jump into some follow-up, and boy, do we have a lot of follow-up.
A lot of chicken, babe. Welcome to Chicken Chat, everybody.
People were really concerned about your chickens, Joe. Really concerned.
Were they saddened by the loss of the 13
My
chickens?
goodness, you should have seen the internal chatter at N2K when,
Oh, no.
when your episode dropped.
People were like, this is a roller coaster ride. What happened to Joe's chickens? And
I'm sorry.
we got several letters from, although the letters we got from listeners, I think, cross paths with your story publishing about the
Untimely demise.
chicken massacre.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to read this first one here.
Okay.
This is from a listener named Aaron, following up on chickens. And Aaron writes in and says, a few weeks ago, Joe mentioned needing to protect a new flock of chickens. I did not respond right away because I was certain another astute listener would respond. The best way I've found to protect my flock is with electric fencing. I built an enclosure made of pressure-treated lumber and chicken wire, then surround that with 5 strands of electric fence starting a few inches off the ground and extending to about 6 feet high. I discovered the hard way that this does not stop a barn owl. When I went to the coop one morning to find 3 dead nucleated?
I would
That
say
is
nucleated. Yeah.
Yes, that is without their head and neck. Chickens.
Wow.
This is a telltale sign of a barn owl attack.
Good to know.
Apparently, they don't like the rest of the bird because it tastes like chicken. After that, I ran a few strands of non-electrified wire across the top of the enclosure in a waffle grid pattern, which is the most delicious of the grid patterns.
I would agree with that 100%. Waffle grid.
Are you sure you didn't write this, Joe?
I didn't write this.
I know.
This really rings of your style of humor, which is probably why Aaron enjoys listening to the show so much.
Right.
He says, I live in an area with coyotes, bobcats, mountain lions, skunks, red-tailed hawks, bald eagles, barn owls, and snakes, all of which love the Colonel's first original recipe, which was raw chickens.
This
After
is an insider
modifying
threat.
the enclosure, as mentioned
This is
above,
true.
I've not lost a single chicken to predators. Good luck with
my
your
goodness.
flock. And then Aaron also was kind enough to include a photo, and he says, below is a picture of the enclosure and some of my birds, a golden comet, a Rhode Island red, and some Delawares. I never got Delawares again because they are aggressive a-holes. You're in Maryland, so I'm sure you understand. Ooh, a regional joke.
All right, please explain to me.
Well, the Delawareans, or whatever. I don't know what Delawareans. Delweenies. Our lovely neighbors in Delaware, slightly to the north, slightly to the east, depending on how you come at them.
They're the Notch in Maryland.
They're
So
lovely people.
if you
They're
look at
lovely
Maryland on the
people.
East Coast,
We
there's a Notch.
regularly wonder why their cute, adorable little state exists, even though our
Taxes.
state is not much larger. It gets sort of the same sort of wondering of why the Maryland Panhandle doesn't belong to either Pennsylvania or West Virginia. But
Right.
Gotcha.
these are all, historical anomalies. All right. And then beyond that, we got another picture sent in. This is from a listener named Shannon. It's a social media post, and it's labeled, ever walked into a grocery store and seen a grown man wearing a baby carrier? Joe, you want to describe this photo?
So this is a picture of a guy, and he has a baby carrier, and tucked into the baby carrier is one of his hens. And
He is front carrying that hen.
he's front carrying the hen, and the hen kind of looks
like a baby Bjorn.
right. And the hen kind of looks nonplussed, or maybe the hen is used to this kind of stuff. Who knows?
Yeah.
I promise I will never carry my chickens into a place where they sell food, because that's gross.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that.
I think the little carrier, because the carrier is pink,
It is.
it kind of looks like the chicken's wearing a little leotard.
It does. Doesn't it? It looks
Chicky's
like
going
she's
to
about to
ballet
start
class.
dancing.
Yeah, exactly. Relevé, plié. And the other question I have here is that the chicken's wings are not coming out through the little armholes.
That's because chicken wings are in a different spot on the body. The chicken's wings are in there.
Yeah.
And in fact, you really tell here because the chicken breastbone is that big lump in the middle.
Right.
It's when you carve a chicken, you know what you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you've
yeah.
ever done that. And
Sure.
But the wings are off to the side, closer to the back. That's why they're not coming through.
Yeah.
And they're not like arms.
Does it mollify a chicken to be swaddled like this?
It will keep the chicken from flapping you with its wings. Yeah. I mean, but
Does the chicken enjoy it?
I don't know.
But it also seems like the chicken's feet, which of course are like little baby dinosaur feet,
Right.
are dangerously close to areas of this man's body that he's probably interested in protecting. So
Yes. I would not be doing this.
I would not take one of my angrier chickens or a rooster out in this situation.
Or that Delaware chicken.
Or the Delaware chicken. Right. All right. Well, that is this week's edition of Chickens with Joe, also known as Follow Up. So
Yeah.
thank you all for sending in your photos and
By the
your
way,
well wishes.
Aaron, thank you very much for the idea about electric fencing. We actually have near where we were building the chicken coop an outlet, or there's power run out to that area. So that's a viable option for us.
Yeah. How are the new chickens doing?
They're doing well. I haven't seen them in about a week. I'm going to probably go over and see them this weekend.
Okay.
And
All right.
Tell them
drop
we
in
all
on
say
them.
hi.
I will do that.
We're on the edge of our seats. And now, a few thoughts from our sponsors at ThreatLocker. The tactics used by cyber criminals are becoming more and more advanced every day. The shift from a default allow approach to a default deny is more critical than ever. This is where ThreatLocker comes in. Stay tuned for how ThreatLocker allow listing and ring fencing has your back. All right, let's get to some stories here. Maria, you have the honors. Why don't you start things off for us here?
All right. So from our We've Been Saying desk, there's a story on CNBC via Ana Teresa Sola that new and changing tariff policies are giving scammers a fresh opportunity to trick consumers. We've been saying. Yeah. So cyber criminals, according to the story, are sending fake tariff payment requests by email or text, posing either as retailers, delivery services, or government agencies. So they are relying on the news cycle confusion, which not hard to do right now, and financial pressure around tariffs. And that all creates what the CNBC story is describing as a perfect storm for fraud. Yeah, I'm going to keep saying that phrase we've been saying. Yeah. Scammers are explaining the fact that most people, myself included, really don't understand very well how tariffs work and, may not question a payment request that would come into them after they make a purchase. Especially, and I'll get to this in a little bit, sometimes legitimate businesses do pass on tariff costs to customers, and sometimes you will get a legitimate tariff payment request from the government, and all of this adds to a lot of confusion. So, point of clarification, I think, just to make, tariffs are import taxes, usually paid by businesses, but consumers often see those costs indirectly through price hikes. So this is important. A lot of people are confused, again, myself included. Scammers are using this information and the confusion around it to trick people into thinking that tariff-related charges are real. So the CNBC story spoke to a number of different cybersecurity companies who are seeing a large uptick in tariff-related scams. Again, we've been saying, and researchers at this company called B4AI said they found over 300 scammy domain names related to tariffs registered in just the first 3 months of 2025. Nobody's surprised by that. Although I will say, amazingly, this group found that someone had been domain squatting on this one that was tariff related since 2003. And they just started updating.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like, that is such a long game. 2003. And they're like, this is going to come in handy one day. Just wait. Just wait. My day has come.
Now's my chance. I've waited.
You all laughed at me.
This guy is now the oldest scammer in the scam center.
I know.
Right.
2003. I mean, it's not
22
that much
years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's, oh my God. No,
Who's the fool now?
Yeah. So, probably not a big surprise to anyone who listens to this show, but what happens if you were to go to these sites, it's really not hard to guess. The domains often lead to phishing sites pretending to collect payments for customs or tariff processing. And in the process, they will nab both user data and money. And they often use the guise of, this is very urgent, otherwise we won't release your package, or, we're the government and we're going to come get you. So there's lots of, and again, nowadays, that is a very legitimate threat for a lot of people. So that is kind of scary. And as I mentioned a little earlier, to make this ultra confusing, there are sometimes legit reasons you might get an official notice about a fee about an overseas good. So this is the part where I was like, oh my God. So U.S. Customs and Border Patrol, we've heard of these guys. Sometimes.
Yeah.
We know who these guys are. They will charge a customs fee to release an import, and you do have to pay the fee to release the imported item. So that is a legitimate thing. Also, import fees may be collected by a carrier, so a logistics firm essentially, if they are acting as the importer of record, which means that they have to pay the duties, taxes, and fees to import the thing. And usually you know about these fees ahead of time, but sometimes you don't, because tariffs change really fast and you may get a surprise bill. So it's like, as I'm going through all this, I'm thinking, okay, no wonder this is a perfect storm, because this is a lot. So surprise fees are very rare, but it is plausible that that someone could get them. But usually the companies are being very transparent about them, especially if they're incoming after the fact. So the scammers are counting on the fact that this is all confusing, and most of us are not really familiar with what is normal. So yeah, can you keep track of what's normal right now? I certainly can't. So
well, and there's conflicting information coming out of the government itself. So who's going to pay these tariffs, right? So that makes it even more complicated. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So I would think normally, unless if you're just a normal person just going about your day, you don't generally import from overseas. This is probably not something you should be expecting to get. But if you're, you have your own small business where you're importing stuff, maybe that's more likely that you'd get something like this. But for most of us, Joe Schmoes, sorry, Joe. There are 3 red flags that this article says that we should look out for. So one of them is, Hacking Humans listeners will know, anything that's urgent and especially unsolicited. If it says it's a tariff relief or tariff exemption, or if it's pressuring you to pay an immediate fee about a tariff, and you weren't expecting it, that is immediately a red flag. Anything with suspicious links, email addresses, or phone numbers that don't match real companies or government agencies, that is another red flag. So please do your due diligence about anything that's incoming that you're not expecting. And then lastly, lack of transparency, because again, if you're working with a logistics firm or a carrier, they're going to be really upfront with you, because they don't want to give you a surprise bill either, because nobody likes those. So usually they will be telling you upfront, hey, this is something you can expect. So if you're not expecting it, you really should reach out to them. Don't wait for something. And definitely don't click anything dodgy. So don't get fooled by all this stuff, because it is legitimately confusing. And be very, very, very cautious.
Yeah, absolutely. It reminds me, I think I shared with you guys that I had dealing with my father's Social Security stuff after he passed, that the Social Security Administration, thank you, Joe. Administration, they can claw back a payment even from a closed account.
Yes.
My point being that, the government does have situational extraordinary power when it comes to these sorts of things, and that adds to the confusion,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I think if all of a sudden tariffs actually start appearing on a deal and I'm not aware of them, I think I walk away from the deal, unless it's something I can't get away from, and in which case somebody will, I don't know, reach out to me through some verifiable channel. I don't know how it works. Here's where
you don't know how it works either. That's the thing.
I don't know how. Yeah.
That's what they're depending on. None of us know.
All very confusing.
Yes.
So I mean, and it's rare. You're saying it's rare for someone to actually get a call from the government going, "Hey, you need to pay this tariff."
Yeah, it is rare, but it's not impossible. So
I think that's rare enough for me to say, I'll tell you what, if I need to pay that tariff, send an agent to my house and I'll write him a check.
I think in most cases you wouldn't get the stuff before you pay the tariff, right? I mean, that's
they're holding it. Yeah, they've got it at the border essentially, and they're not going to release it until you pay up. But I've only, if I can think of anyone who's I'm thinking of all the stories I know of folks who've gotten in trouble with customs outside of the airport. I can't remember any time someone's been flagged this way. I'm sure it happens, but it's got to be such an edge case. And again, it's probably people who are used to doing importing and exporting, and folks who do that kind of stuff, I would assume. I feel like Vandelay Industries is a Seinfeld joke somewhere. Right. They know a lot more about this than we do. So hopefully,
a friend of mine got busted by a beagle for having an apple coming through customs.
I cannot tell you the stories I know of people sneaking stuff past customs in an airport that they shouldn't have done. It's just but I don't think this is the kind of thing that we need to worry about in this situation.
No.
So,
There was one time when I went to Barbados, and that was the only time I was tempted to try to smuggle something in. But they have you can buy liquor in like a duty-free store.
Yeah.
And then bring it into the U.S., but there's a limit to how much you can bring.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to tell you, Mount Gay rum, which is a Bajan-made rum, which is a good rum, sells for $10 American a liter in Barbados.
Oh, geez.
And here, you're paying like $40 for a 750.
Okay.
So I was like, how much of this can I bring home? Turns out the answer is 4 liters. 4 liters. So per person.
Pro tip right there.
We brought home 8 liters of it.
There you go.
My father would always bring back booze from the islands.
Mm-hmm.
Same sort of thing. Sort of thing.
And I remember buying Cuban rum when I was in Germany coming back to the U.S. I can't believe that I was able to do that, but I could buy it duty-free in Germany because they sell Cuban rum there. Can't get Cuban rum in the United States. So
no, you cannot. Can't get Cuban anything in the United States.
Not legally.
Get a Cuban sandwich.
Yes.
that is usually
my
illegal.
favorite of the sandwiches, by the
way. An illegal Cuban sandwich.
All right. We will have a link to that story in the show notes. Joe, what do you got for us this week?
Dave, I got a bulletin from the Internet Crime Complaint Center, which is the IC3.
Yeah.
And I heard about this first from a news story from Matt Durr, who works at Michigan Live.
Okay.
Which is a news outlet out of Michigan. I don't know. Anyway, senior U.S. officials are being impersonated in a malicious messaging campaign. So the FBI is issuing a warning and announcement to people who are federal employees, former federal employees, or state government officials, and their contacts, warning them that somebody is using AI to leave fake voicemail messages and sending tons of spam texts claiming to be the whoever the person is they're impersonating. And the call to action here is that they're trying to get you to go to a website and log in and give up your credentials.
Okay.
But beyond that, there's not a lot going on in terms of what's happening here. So my question about this is, what's the end game? We've heard about people using the artificial intelligence generated voices and the smishing, as they call it, a term I hate, by the way. And kudos to the FBI. They use the term smishing in here, but they define the term in the middle of this alert, this PSA, and it's coming in with a SMS message, and that's where the smishing comes in, simple messaging service or short messaging service. And then they also have vishing. I hate both of these terms. Just say scam texts and scam calls, and that covers everything.
Yeah, but that's not cute, Joe.
No, it's not. It's better than cute. It's descriptive.
How dare you not be cute?
Right.
Cute as a baby chick.
Cute as a baby chick. Cute as one of my all-on baby chicks. So they're using software to generate the phone numbers that are not attributed to a specific mobile phone, and so they're spoofing phone numbers and calling these people, trying to get them to log in. And I don't know what the end game is because they're not going after financial things. I think this might actually be an espionage campaign.
Right. I mean, couldn't it just be that simple that high level government officials are high value targets?
Yeah, absolutely.
Get in their email or any of their accounts.
Yep.
You can either sell it or for espionage, it has value.
It does.
I imagine there's a lot of people who'd be a little more willing to talk right now than they might normally. So
we've certainly heard stories about other governments and entities being opportunistic, and as they do, to try to take advantage of the hard feelings that former government employees may have from having been let go or treated poorly and all that kind of thing. I mean, that is an opportunity for
it. Absolutely is
those kinds of operations.
Yep.
So it's happening for sure. Yeah. What do they have any recommendations?
They do.
Here, Joe?
They have spotting a fake message. First off, verify the identity of the person calling you or sending you the voice messages before responding, which I don't know how you do that aside from maybe picking up the phone, looking the person up and calling them and going, hey, did you send me this?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a high-ranking government official, maybe you have access to that kind of information. But it says, carefully examine the email address, messaging contact information, including the phone numbers, URLs, and the spelling of any correspondence for communications. Spammers often use slight differences to deceive you and gain your trust. So this is looking for the little differences.
Yeah.
Subtle imperfections in videos and images. That is, I think that's looking for like deep fake videos.
Right.
And the telltale for me, the way I can tell when somebody is using a voice cloner, and that one here, listen closely to the tone and word choice and distinguish legitimate phone calls. And I can tell when somebody is using a poor AI-generated voice because the cadence is off. The cadence is a little weird,
mm-hmm.
and it's unnatural. And sometimes there are mispronunciations of words that are pronounced as they're spelled, which is to me a dead giveaway in this case. But as over time, that will get better. And Dave, you remember the time you had, this was probably a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
You synthesized your voice, and I didn't know it wasn't you.
Yeah.
My wife picked up on it immediately.
Interesting.
When I had her listen to it, she said, that sounds too robotic to be Dave.
Yeah, say hi to your wife for me.
I will, yeah.
Thanks.
While we're saying hi, 2 weeks ago, Maria said, hi, Michelle, and Michelle wanted me to say hi back to Maria. So
okay.
There you are.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks.
Everybody's all caught up. Dave, next week I'll tell you whether or not my wife says hi back.
All right. Ask her if she still snores.
Dave?
Or if she sings in the shower. I don't know.
All right. AI-generated content has advanced to the point, this is another thing, it says AI-generated content has advanced to the point where it's getting more difficult to identify, which is exactly what I was just saying.
Yeah.
And these things are only going to get better and better and better over time. So really, I think it all boils down to don't trust the inbound messaging at all.
Right.
Someone reaches out to you, immediately don't trust it. It's just the best policy to, if somebody reaches out to you and starts talking and they have context, maybe, right? Maybe. But if they just reach out to you out of the blue and there's no context or anything, then yeah, you got to call them back. Hold on, let me call you back. I know your number. I'll call you right back.
Yeah.
No, I'm on a plane and I can't take. Okay, call me when you land, or I'll call you when you land on your cell phone.
Right. Just now's not a good time.
Now's not a good time. I'm in the shower.
Yeah, I'm about to, I'm about to sit down and have surgery.
Right.
Like just whatever. Yeah. They'll, and the point being, don't let them dictate the pace and the urgency of the call, right?
That's a great point. The pace,
yeah,
the timing and the rhythm of this. I was talking with somebody years ago, and he was talking about quick change scams, about how they work, and the way they work is by getting you into their rhythm. It's 1, 2, 3, this makes sense, this makes sense, this makes sense.
You mean like making change and giving you back the wrong change
for
cash?
Yeah, giving you back more change than you should be having.
Yeah.
And this guy and I were discussing this, and he told me about a friend of his who, the way he broke that up was somebody walk up and hand him a 20 and say, can I get 2 10s for this? And he would immediately take the 20, open the register drawer, and ignore anything else they said. And they would start with their patter. And they'd go into the thing that would eventually make you give back $30 or $40.
Right.
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 But he would just take the money, put the leave the 20 on top, take out 2 10s, put the 20 into the 20 drawer, close the drawer, and hand the guy 2 20s or 2 10s.
Yeah.
And the guy would start going into the next step of the thing. Can I get 2 5s for this 10? I wanted 2 5s for this 10. And he'd take it and open the drawer again, and he'd make that transaction while the guy was talking and trying to move down the road in the scam. And eventually, after 2 of these transactions where the guy gave him back who he was supposed to give him back, the guy got frustrated and walked away.
Yeah. If you want to see that in action, the movie The Grifters has a good example of John Cusack pulling that scam on some folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one. All right. We will have a link to that story in our show notes. I'll tell you what, let's take a quick break to hear a message from our sponsor. We will be right back. So let's return to our sponsor, ThreatLocker. ThreatLocker is a zero-trust endpoint protection platform that strengthens your infrastructure from the ground up. Where traditional cybersecurity tools require you to create a list of things you don't want to run, ThreatLocker enables you to easily curate an allow list of everything you need in your environment and network, and block everything else by default. With ThreatLocker allow listing and ring fencing, you gain a more secure approach to blocking exploits of known and unknown vulnerabilities. ThreatLocker provides zero-trust control at the kernel level that enables you to allow everything you need and block everything else, including ransomware. The ThreatLocker Zero Trust Endpoint Protection Platform deploys in a learning mode that analyzes the operations of your company using machine learning to assist you in developing your allow list for approved applications, what they can do on the endpoint, what can interact with your data, and even east and west network traffic. We thank ThreatLocker for sponsoring our show. And we are back. My story this week comes from a gentleman named Lee Goldberg, who is actually a very well-known author and TV producer and TV writer. He's a best-selling author. Writes sort of mystery novels. And he's also written some TV shows that you've probably heard of, like Monk.
Ah, yeah, I have heard of Monk.
Yeah. So he's got a very impressive resume. He's a legit, like, Hollywood guy, Hollywood success, right? and having a number of best-selling books, occasionally he has to deal with folks who may want to adapt one of his books into a movie. So he got an email from someone claiming to be the Hollywood Talent Agency, asking if he'd consider adapting his book, which is titled Calico, into a film. And this email had all sorts of buzzwords in it, like submission specialist partners, award-winning film advisors, and studio managers. So, sensing that things were not on the up and up and looking for, I guess, content for his blog, Lee got on the phone and called them up. And he got an offshore office that he's pretty sure was in the Philippines. The person who answered had never heard of the agency, the representative, or even Lee Goldberg himself. But he said, "Oh, let me check with our endorsement people." And then another email came in. This time it was from someone named Darius, who claimed to be from Writer's Edge Production. He said he received an endorsement and wanted to chat about adapting the book. And so Lee called him. And Darius's English was rough. The sales script was a mess. He stumbled through lines about a pitch deck service, which is a glossy video presentation that they'll make for a fee.
A sizzle reel, if you will.
Yeah, and then this would be sent around to their VIP studio contacts. And for proof, they'd give you a certificate of submission. Is that right?
Yeah. What is that worth?
Well, and so that's the scam. So we'll get to that in a minute. We'll get to the details of the scam itself. But Lee asked who the brilliant film advisor would be. And the answer was someone named Warut Snidvongs. I'm sure we've all heard of.
Oh, yeah, that guy. Yeah. Good friend of mine.
He's the next Spielberg.
Yeah.
An IMDb search said that he had one film credit and a bunch of jobs as a grip and a camera assistant. So Lee...
So he's moving up in the world quickly.
Well, yeah, Lee pushed harder. He eventually told Darius who he really was, and then he knew that he was being conned. Darius said that his defense was that they disclosed that the odds are only about 50-50 that you'll have any success with them. So in his mind, that makes it not a scam.
Yeah, right.
So there's no real agency. There are no studio connections. There's no need for a pitch deck. And that's what this is. The scam is called a pitch deck scam.
Okay.
And the scam is someone contacts you and they butter you up and they tell you what a great creative work you've done. And it can be, like in this case, a book. It could be a script. It could be a piece of art, anything creative. And they tell you that they want to help you bring this to the public and everybody's going to be rich. Rich, I tell you.
Too good to be true. Nobody ever cares about your creative work that much.
Right. Yeah. They push that this is an exclusive opportunity, right? Time sensitive.
So there's the artificial time horizon.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's ultimately pay to play. So they will produce the pitch deck for you, but it'll cost you hundreds or even thousands of dollars.
I'm sure you can produce your own pitch deck if you're a resource person like Lee Goldberg here.
He's a writer, for God's sake.
He's in there. He doesn't need some third party's
they're
help.
rolling in money, writers, notoriously.
That's not what I mean. What I mean is he's done this before.
Yeah.
He has his own resources where he can reach out to people. If he's going to make a sizzle reel or a pitch deck, he knows who to talk to already.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's why it didn't work on him. But, you know, if Dave and Joe and Maria were going to sit down and write a show,
yeah,
and we're going to call it, I don't know.
Hacking Humans
Live.
The movie.
Hacking Humans the movie. Right?
What?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. What would that look like? Yeah.
Yeah.
Who would play me?
Oh.
Probably John Goodman.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. So, obviously, there is no real submission or results. Right. Nothing's ever going to happen. The VIP connections that they promise you don't actually exist. They use all kinds of name dropping. They'll say things like, we have award-winning directors or film advisors and things like that, but they don't exist. And then one thing they point out here is that once you pay, the scam often continues, of course. You know, they got a hot one on the hook.
Right.
So they offer additional services like agent representation or screenplay adaptation or paid consultations. And again, they use scarcity and urgency to pressure you. They say, we only have a few slots left. Or if we don't act now, the studios are going to lose interest. So we got to be quick about this. So they have some red flags to look out for. Obviously, cold calling and flattery. No real company address or staff credentials. Requesting upfront payment for vague services. Poor grammar and inconsistent communication. Unverifiable success stories or credits. And resistance to questions or verification efforts. So I don't think that's one we've covered before, a pitch deck scam.
No, I've never heard of it before.
That was
I think that's new for us.
Yeah,
new for me. I've never heard of it.
Interesting niche.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you hear all kinds of Hollywood scams. The ones I've seen and heard of most of are, come audition for us. We'll put your kid in front of Hollywood agents, for Disney and Paramount and that sort of thing. And
that's horrible anyway. Well, if you're going to put your kid in front of somebody.
But think about how many parents have stars in their eyes.
Yeah.
And their precious little snowflake is going to be the next Hannah Montana. And so they go and they pay a fee to have the child looked at. The child goes and does a little song and dance, and
they
that's
say,
it.
Your kid's terrible. Get out of here.
Right. And if
Thanks
those
for the
people,
$200.
Yeah. If those people see 100 kids in a morning at $200 a piece.
Right.
Profit.
$20,000.
Yeah. So
I can tell 200 kids they suck for $20,000. Or 100 kids.
That reminds me of a scam that was common when I was a teenager, sort of in the nascent time of the internet. So it was still by mail. Teenage girls around the age of 16, when we would hit 16 years old, we'd all get a postcard saying, come try out to be a model. And it was like, they didn't know who you were. It was just like teenage girl, age 16. And you would get this. And
Right.
of course, you just had to pay a small fee, and they were like, "Well, we'll let you audition to be a model." And I remember
You'll
my
let me
friends
audition for a small fee?
something like that. I mean,
What a
this was a
privilege.
long time ago, Joe. I don't remember the exact details, but I remember my friends and I on our birthdays would all get this, and we would all bring them to school and laugh because we're just like, everybody gets one of these, including those of us who would never have a prayer for
Right.
being a model.
Joe, I think you could have a service here that could actually be on the up and up, or you could frame it as a casting agent kind of thing, but just call it Joe's Cold Hard Truth.
Right. Well,
Right.
I told you that one of my
Your child lacks talent and is ugly.
Right.
Next.
Some people need that service given to them as a gift, frankly.
I told you that my one of my retirement plans is actually building up a psychic business, right?
Oh, okay.
Where people come in and they sit down and I say, "So what's on your mind?" And I just start asking them questions. I think my boyfriend's cheating on me. Why do you think your boyfriend's cheating on me? Well, he always grabs his phone when I'm nearby. I reach for it and he won't let me see what's on it. And he stays out late on Tuesday nights. And okay, well, let me consult the spirits here. Your boyfriend is cheating on you.
Okay. So you're just like cold reading them?
No, I'm not cold reading them. I'm talking them through the situation, finding out why they believe it, see if it adds up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess labeling yourself a psychic is kind of an end around for being an unlicensed therapist.
Yes,
Right?
exactly.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
What should I do about my career? Oh, very good question. Let's sit down and talk about it.
Yeah. I swear to you, this is a true story. Okay. I have a friend who's a banker, and he got a loan application for a woman who wanted to start a small business as a psychic.
Mm-hmm.
And he turned down the loan, and she said, "I'm really surprised to hear this."
Seriously.
And he said, "Well, I guess I made the right decision."
Jeez. God.
True
I
story.
think you just broke Joe. I think you just broke Joe.
That's beautiful. I'm sorry. I think I made the right decision.
Yeah. Well,
If she'd have said, "I knew that was going to happen," you'd have been like, "Well, here's a loan then."
right. Exactly. Yeah. This is, Joe, Maria, it is time to move on to our cluck of the day.
Dave, our cluck of the day comes from Jonathan, who sent us a kind of a weird one. But Dave, you want to read it? It's coming from Normand Cruz.
Normand Cruz,
Right.
and the email address is sabacotefremteria.doria15853
So am I
Rolls off the
supposed to
tongue.
believe that there
Yeah.
are 15,852 other Saba from Doria, whatever this is?
Right. This one is short and sweet. I mean, there is an attachment that has a PayPal invoice scam, but the text of this is short and sweet, but it says, "Hey, our vision is now tangible and real. Just amazing. Bye."
Bye.
That's it. That's the whole thing.
That's
I'll read it again. "Hey, our vision is now tangible and real. Just amazing. Bye."
I think that is just to
I'm
make
convinced.
it through the spam filters
Yeah.
to get you to
Yeah.
open the
Right.
PDF attachment.
It's just, random.
Yeah, and then
Of
I
words.
parsed
Right.
the email address, the Sabacota Fremdeteria Doria 15853. They
Yeah.
were born in January 58th, 1953. There you go.
January. Okay, right. January 58.
Right. There was recently I think it was like a congressperson who put a deadline on some bit of congressional business for a date that didn't exist, like the 31st of a month that didn't have a 31st, something like
February
that.
31st.
Yeah, it got some, eye rolls and that sort of thing. All right. Well, that is our catch of the day. And of course, we would love to hear from you. If there's something you'd like us to consider for the show, you can email us. It's hackinghumans@n2k.com. And of course, we want to thank this week's sponsor, ThreatLocker. Go to threatlocker.com/HH and check out their Zero Trust Endpoint Protection platform. That's the words threat and locker with no space.com/HH, where you can request a demo and neutralize the threat of malware running on your devices. And that is Hacking Humans, brought to you by N2K Cyberwire. This episode is produced by Liz Stokes. Our executive producer is Jennifer Eiben. We're mixed by Elliot Peltzman and Trey Hester. Peter Kilpie is our publisher. I'm Dave Bittner.
I'm Joe Kerrigan.
And I'm Maria Varmazes.
Thanks for listening.